Libra, my dear cosmic balancer, listen closely. A shocking amount of cash is landing in your life. But here's the condition: if you speak about it too soon, you risk losing it all. That's not fear. That's sacred instruction. What you're about to receive is not a random stroke of luck, not a lottery win, and certainly not charity. It's a divine settlement, a karmic payout that has been spiritually pending for far too long. And right now, Libra, the heavens are wiring it directly to your account. Quietly. Powerfully. Irrevocably. But silence is your contract. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you felt lately like something is shifting but you can't explain what? Like a hidden door is opening in your life, but only if you walk through it without announcing it to the world? Then this message is for you. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where we don't shout destiny, you whisper it, like the divine does. You didn't click on this video by accident. Your spirit led you here. Maybe you've been wondering when it would finally be your turn to receive. Maybe you've been giving, sacrificing, working in silence, and holding on by a thread. And now, Libra, the thread becomes a bridge. A sacred bridge. The universe has kept receipts, every tear, every betrayal, every act of kindness no one thanked you for. And now the repayment is in motion. Not as applause. Not as attention. But as financial energy encoded with spiritual purpose. But let me be very clear, this wealth isn't for showing off. It's not to prove anything to anyone who once doubted you. It's for building something only you are meant to build. And if you reveal it too early, it will be energetically revoked. Your silence, Libra, is your sanctuary. Before we go deeper, let me take a moment to say something from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Truly. For every like, every share, every comment, and especially for subscribing to this growing family of light. Your presence, your support, and your energy allow this channel Zodiac Whisper Tarot bring forward these transformative, soul-level messages. And trust me, you're going to want to stay with me until the very last second of today's reading. Because what the universe is revealing now is spectacular. So tell me, my loyal Libras, what guided you here today? What inner feeling led you to click this video in this exact moment? If you feel even the slightest resonance, don't ignore it. Comment below, I claim this silently. I receive what is mine. That simple sentence is your energetic agreement. A soul signature. A spiritual password that opens the vault. This is your time, Libra. But only if you can stay still enough to receive it. Only if you can stay silent enough to protect it. And only if you remember, not all victories were meant to be announced, some were meant to be sacred. Let's begin. Sometimes, what looks like silence is actually a record being written in the deepest layers of reality. And Libra, this part of your journey, the moment you're stepping into, know is not the result of random luck or cosmic charity. It is the unfolding of something sacred, something earned, something long overdue. You may have thought the universe forgot about you. That your kindness went unnoticed. That your boundaries were invisible. That your patience had no weight in the bigger scheme. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You weren't just surviving, you were testifying. Every quiet act of integrity, every private moment where you chose not to retaliate, not to gossip, not to give up on yourself, those were your declarations in a courtroom you never saw. You weren't losing. You were building a case. It's easy to overlook spiritual justice when you live in a world that rewards noise, speed, and spectacle. But true justice, cosmic justice, moves like roots beneath the ground. Slow. Silent. Inevitable. And now, that root system of cause and effect is rising to the surface. The appearance of the justice card in your reading is not a symbolic gesture. It is confirmation. It is final judgment. It is heaven saying, we saw everything. And we never stopped counting. Libra, you didn't need to file a complaint. Your soul filed it for you. The unfairness you experienced wasn't meaningless, it was evidence. The missed opportunities weren't losses, they were items on a ledger. And every time you stayed quiet in the face of accusation, every time you gave without expectation, every time you forgave instead of fighting, the scales tipped. Quietly. In your favor. And now they tip completely. This isn't a jackpot moment. This is settlement. It's not about sudden luck, it's about long-standing alignment. This is not the universe throwing you a bone. It is the universe delivering a signed, sealed, and final decree that says, you are owed. Not only financially, but energetically. Not only energetically, but emotionally. Not only emotionally, but spiritually. You see, what's coming is bigger than cash. The money is real, yes. The opportunities, tangible. But what makes them life-changing isn't just the size, it's the source. The source is clean. You're not receiving what someone else lost. You're receiving what was always yours but was withheld until you were ready to hold it with wisdom. We often think that the hard part of faith is waiting. But sometimes, the harder part is receiving without guilt. Without second-guessing. Without minimizing it. And perhaps that's the final test before this abundance lands. Can you actually believe that goodness belongs to you now, simply because you endured? Let this be a moment where you no longer need to rationalize your blessings. You no longer have to explain why it's your time. You've already paid in advance with patience, with pain, with perseverance. And like the teachings remind us in many sacred traditions, when you've done your part, grace steps in and multiplies it. So, give yourself permission to accept what's unfolding not as a reward for being perfect, but as the return for being authentic through the imperfect. You didn't fake your way here. You were real. And real always wins in the end, even if it takes longer to show up. Let this be your silent triumph. Let this be the moment you say yes, not out loud to the world, but deeply, privately, to yourself. And as you do, remember, you are not stepping into something foreign. You're stepping into something familiar because this blessing was always written in your name. Now is the time to accept it with both hands and an open heart. You don't have to convince anyone. You only have to agree inwardly that this is your appointed hour. And if that resonates, let it anchor you. Leave a comment below, not for me, but as a declaration to yourself. Be writing, I accept what's already mine. Let that be your signature on the cosmic receipt. There's a reason the High Priestess doesn't speak, because some truths are too powerful to be diluted by explanation. Libra, what's being handed to you now is not just a blessing, but a sacred responsibility. The kind of gift that shifts timelines. And yet, its strength is directly connected to how quietly you hold it. You see, silence is not about hiding. It's about preserving. It's the quiet protection of something still germinating beneath the surface, before it's strong enough to survive the harsh winds of external opinion, curiosity, or projection. What you're receiving is not just money, it's energetic currency. It's encoded with divine intention and destined to fund something far more meaningful than a fleeting indulgence. And because of that, the energy surrounding it must remain intact. Sharing prematurely isn't just risky, it's energetically disruptive. When you reveal a sacred gift too early, you expose it to energies that are not aligned with its purpose. Even a casual comment or well-intentioned share can pull your energy field into defense mode, forcing your subconscious to justify, explain, or protect what was never meant to be seen yet. That constant energetic negotiation can drain the very power meant to multiply the blessing. Just like the moon does her most transformative work in darkness, so too does abundance. Think of a seed planted deep in soil. It doesn't need applause to grow. It needs rich darkness, moisture, solitude, time. And your upcoming wealth, whether it arrives as a long-forgotten refund, a surprise inheritance, or an unexpected payout from a place you've long let go, is that seed. It needs you to be the soil, not the spotlight. In astrology, the High Priestess resonates with the moon and the 12th house, the unseen realm, the house of mystery, preparation, and divine gestation. She teaches us to trust inner knowing over outer approval, to move without announcing, and to protect what's sacred until it's fully formed. You're being asked now to embody that same frequency. Not to isolate yourself, but to refine the circle around your energy. To guard your miracle like it's not just yours but something that will ripple into generations to come. And here's a quiet truth I've come to understand through years of working with energy: the more silently a blessing enters, the more powerfully it establishes. The louder the arrival, the quicker the decay. It's not that you can never celebrate. It's just that celebration has a proper time. And that time is after roots have grown deep enough to hold. This is also a chance to rewire your relationship with validation. Libra, you thrive when you're seen, but this is your invitation to be sustained even when you're not. Your worth isn't proved by showing. It's known by being. And the more you can sit in the quiet certainty of your upcoming abundance, the stronger your inner root system becomes. Perhaps this is where we also learn to trust the way blessings are meant to unfold, not on our timeline, and not in our preferred spotlight, but in the divine rhythm of what will last. If you've ever prayed for stability, for clarity, for breakthrough, know that it doesn't always come as lightning. Sometimes, it comes as stillness. Let yourself be guided by that stillness. Let it be a sign that you don't need the world to clap in order to move forward. And if you need a gentle confirmation, here it is: you're doing everything right by saying nothing. Stay soft. Stay grounded. Stay faithful. And if this resonates with you, don't shout it. Just gently type in the comments, "I protect what is sacred. I move in silence." That's your way of anchoring this energy. Quietly. Powerfully. Truthfully. It rarely happens when we expect it, but just before abundance lands, the past often knocks one last time, dressed in the same face, the same voice, the same memories, but carrying an entirely different intention. Libra, the universe always verifies if you're truly ready to hold what you've asked for by offering you a familiar doorway back to what once drained you. This isn't punishment. It's confirmation. And the question it's asking is simple: Have you outgrown the energy that once held you small? What many don't realize is that true, soul-aligned wealth requires energetic space to land. Not just physical space, but clean energetic boundaries. And the moment you start radiating a new frequency, the past feels it. Not mentally, but vibrationally. Old patterns, old people, old versions of yourself begin circling your field, drawn to the light like moths to a flame, not because they wish you harm, but because they crave access to what they didn't help you build. This is where the final exam appears, and Libra, it will often come wrapped in nostalgia, familiarity, or a story that tugs at your empathy. But this is not the time to rescue. This is the time to reinforce. As someone ruled by Venus, you carry a natural instinct to harmonize, to connect, to restore balance. But sometimes, maintaining balance means holding your boundary with grace, not bending in the name of peace. Emotional guilt is often the last tether that keeps abundance from fully integrating into your reality. The fear of being called selfish, cold, or changed, that fear can pull you back into roles you've long since outgrown. And the test isn't whether you're kind, it's whether you can be kind without being consumed. This phase in your journey requires discernment more than generosity. It requires the maturity to recognize that not everyone who asks deserves an answer, and not every cry for help is your assignment. It's not about judgment. It's about preservation. You become a vessel, and what's coming into your life is not just for you, it's for your purpose, your future, and everything that will flow through you to others who truly align with your mission. And so yes, saying no is sacred. Refusing access is spiritual integrity. Think of it like guarding a well. If you let everyone dip into it freely before it has time to replenish, soon it will run dry, not just for them, but for you too. This is your chance to break the cycle of emotional overextension and prove to the universe that you are a wise steward, not just a kind soul. If you're feeling torn, caught between the pull of compassion and the voice that says, "This isn't yours to carry," know that you're not alone. Even in the teachings of daily spiritual life, we are reminded that not every burden is ours, and not every crisis is ours to resolve. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let someone walk their own path, while you stay true to yours. So when this test arrives, and it will, pause before responding. Ask yourself, is this coming from love or from guilt? If it's guilt, you already know the answer. And if you need permission to say no, let this be it. If these words land in your heart and feel like truth, I invite you to quietly affirm it by commenting below, "I protect my light. I am no longer available for what drains me." Let that be your sacred seal, the sign that you're no longer available for old contracts that expired with the version of you that no longer exists. You're stepping into your keeper of the treasure era now, and not everyone can come with you. And that's not cruelty. That's clarity. The kind of wealth approaching you now, Libra, doesn't behave like ordinary money. It doesn't respond to impulse, ego, or quick gratification. It isn't here to patch up your past or soothe your insecurities. This is intentional currency, spiritually charged and cosmically encoded. It was never meant for casual spending. It's arriving with an assignment attached, and its instructions are clear. Build something sacred, something lasting, something aligned with the deepest purpose of who you've become. That purpose might look like a healing space, a new project you've been quietly dreaming about, a journey to reclaim your creativity, a small course, a studio, a sanctuary. The size doesn't matter. What matters is that it's honest. aligned, liberating. This is what the universe funds, not your image, not your social status, but your calling. And if you're tempted to use what's coming to prove your worth to others, to silence critics, impress doubters, or restore old relationships through generosity, pause and breathe. Because energy used to validate the past will evaporate just as quickly as it came. The lesson here isn't just about how to receive. It's about how to carry. And that means honoring this money for what it truly is, a sacred trust. Imagine it like a divine investment. You've been appointed as the steward, the manager, the visionary. Your choices now determine whether this resource multiplies or disappears. It's no different from how seeds respond to soil. Plant them in the wrong place, and nothing takes root. But place them in alignment with your purpose, and they flourish beyond measure. In astrology, Libra, you're ruled by Venus, the planet of value. This is your time to redefine value, not as luxury, but as alignment. Not as ownership, but as flow. Not as spending, but as sacred direction. It doesn't require a grand move to activate this flow. It begins with something small but intentional. Buying a domain name for the project you've put off. Sending a message to the mentor you've been afraid to approach. Clearing out a physical space where inspiration can finally land. Even purchasing a book that teaches you the language of your calling. These are not expenses. They're declarations. They whisper to the universe, I'm ready to build. And the universe doesn't wait for perfection. It only waits for a decision. This principle is echoed again and again, not just in spiritual law, but in the quiet wisdom of everyday faith. When you are faithful with the little, you show that you're capable of holding more. Not because you're flawless, but because you're intentional. You take care of what matters. And that care becomes the key to greater flow. You don't have to be fearless. You only have to take the first step. If you've been feeling that pull, that sense that something wants to be created through you, this is your confirmation. Don't delay it for the illusion of readiness. Readiness comes through movement. The funds that are arriving are not here to fix you. They're here to fuel you. To activate the blueprint already written within your soul. Let this be the moment you stop asking for signs and start becoming one. If this resonates with you, take a moment to ground the energy by commenting below, I invest in my calling. I build what I was born to build. Let those words mark the beginning. Not of spending but of sowing. Because when you plant wealth in purpose, you don't just grow abundance. You grow legacy. Once you step into this new season, Libra, you're no longer the one knocking at closed doors hoping to be seen or chosen. You're no longer the one waiting for someone else's permission to live fully or receive richly. This is your sovereign hour and you are the keeper of your own realm. The resources arriving in your life aren't just material wealth. They are the tools, codes, and blueprints to build a reality that aligns with your true energetic authority. Not everyone is meant to be part of this next chapter, and that's okay. Because this isn't about popularity, it's about purpose. Think of your life now as a sovereign nation. Not ruled by the noise of public opinion, not shaped by the shadows of your past, but governed by the wisdom of your inner counsel. Your intuition is your highest law. Your boundaries are your protected borders. Your values are the heartbeat of your constitution. And your energetic signature, the vibration that is uniquely yours, is what determines who gets a passport into your kingdom and who does not. You decide who stays. You decide what grows. You decide where your currency flows. The financial energy coming in isn't random. It's been assigned to you. And that means it carries spiritual jurisdiction. It doesn't belong to anyone else's agenda, expectation, or projection. It doesn't exist to be explained away or justified. It's not for proving a point. It's not to make anyone finally believe in you. It's here to help you fulfill a destiny that only your soul was born to carry. And here's something powerful, Libra, the moment you fully claim this role not from ego, but from grounded awareness, you stop leaking energy. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop bending the blueprint to accommodate people who were never meant to walk through your sacred gates. You start aligning with the clarity of stewardship. The kind that understands that you can love people and still deny them access. You can be generous and still guard your purpose. You can be compassionate without being available to chaos. In practical terms, this may look like saying no without explaining. Declining invitations that no longer resonate. Protecting your ideas in their early stages. Moving in quiet obedience to your soul's call even when no one else understands it. And most importantly, giving yourself full permission to enjoy what is yours without guilt. Remember, kings and queens do not explain how they allocate their treasury. They trust the wisdom of their leadership, and they act with calm precision. This week, allow yourself to wrap in sapphire blue energy, the color of divine inner knowing, sacred clarity, and private power. Let it remind you that you no longer operate on borrowed time, borrowed strength, or borrowed value. You are the author now. You are the foundation. You are the gatekeeper and the builder. And your sacred number, 77, is your celestial confirmation. A whisper from the universe that says, you've already signed the contract. The abundance is in motion. Your role is simply to honor the assignment and walk it forward. If these words stir something deep within you, if you feel the resonance of this new role awakening in your heart, anchor it with your presence. Write this in the comments as a gentle declaration to yourself and to the path you're now walking. I move in silence and receive my financial mission. Let it be a soft but unwavering vow. A signature of alignment. Because this kingdom was always meant to be yours. You're not entering idiory, finally remembering it. Libra, if you're still here with me, breathing in these words, then I know something sacred is already stirring in your spirit. Not everyone will understand the kind of quiet strength it takes to walk this path. Not everyone is ready to receive what you're being offered. Because not everyone was called. But you were. You've been prepared in silence, tested in shadows, and refined by seasons no one clapped for. And now, the whisper of destiny is landing right where it was always meant, to inside your own heart. You've loved without applause. Given without recognition. Chosen truth over comfort. And now, the universe owes you more than praise, it owes you restoration. And it's paying you back not just with money, but with mission, with meaning, and with the authority to create a new reality rooted in everything you've earned. But here's what matters most now. Can you protect it? Can you hold this light without shouting it from the rooftops? Can you build quietly, anchored in trust rather than approval? Because Libra, your silence is no longer a sign of suppression. It's a strategy. It's a shield. It's your graduation robe. Let your stillness be the loudest statement. Let your results speak volumes. Let your choices reflect the wealth you carry not just in your hands, but in your soul. This wealth coming to you is not simply cash, it's confirmation. And while the world races for validation, you are being asked to move differently. To slow down. To listen inward. To make your first move not out of excitement, but out of alignment. Whether it's buying a domain, sketching a new vision, reaching out to a mentor, or simply sitting in prayerful readiness, let that be your first brick. One small step is all it takes to unlock the floodgates. So now, I ask you, what will you do with what you've received today? How will you protect your light? What is the very first action you feel called to take? Trust that whatever rises in your heart is enough. That you are enough. And if this message has sparked something real within you, something raw, something holy, something shouldn't let the moment pass you by, I invite you to seal this energy with action. Leave a comment below. I protect my light. I walk in silence. I build in purpose. Let that be your vow, your confirmation, your energetic yes. And if you felt deeply seen, supported, or strengthened by this video, I want to thank you for your presence, your time, and your heart. Every like, every share, every subscription allows this sacred space to grow. It helps us reach more souls like your souls who don't need the noise, but crave the truth behind the silence. So stay with us. Because at Zodiac Whisper Tarot, we don't scream messages, we whisper them straight to the soul. And if you're hearing this, Libra, it's because your soul has already answered the call.